Welcome. So we will start the meeting of the Prospect Parks.
Give me just a second, Linda.
Oh, not quite.
Not quite.
All right, you tell me when.
And we are live.
Okay, we can open the Prospect Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting for January 2021. So welcome, everyone. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the November meeting minutes. You'll recall we did not meet in December. So I would welcome any comments, any changes, or approval.
Move approval.
Hearing no changes, I guess I can say that they are approved as written.
Well, I think you need a motion. Move approval.
Thank you, David. A second?
A second.
Thank you, Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I guess they are approved as written. The next agenda item is an update from our mayor. So I will turn it over to Mayor Evans.
All right. Linda, how long ago did we have that meeting talking about Ecotech and Putney Pond, this committee?
That was in December. It was before the, I might have that up here. I can get to it.
That's good enough.
It was after our November Parks Committee meeting.
Yeah, most, if not all of you were at that meeting. And I suppose the main thing that was discussed was Ecotech and the interaction that Linda and perhaps some of them regarding what we're going to do going forward with Putney Pond. And I'm not going to go back over that meeting, but we decided that it would be a good thing to go forward with Ecotech, find out what they recommend to this committee and to the city as far as that. So several council members are in favor, I believe, of amending the budget to provide the money to do that. And Monday night, this coming Monday at the meeting, I anticipate that a revised budget ordinance that includes some additional monies to the park committee will be brought up for a first reading of that amendment. Tell you what it, as far as the Parks Committee, currently the Parks maintenance budget of $15, the proposed rate would include an additional $10,000 for that. And that would be for invasive plant removal, not Putney Pond necessarily, although it could be included there to the extent that we need to do invasive plant removal there, but it would, I believe, mainly involve Harrods Creek Park. The Parks Committee is, it doesn't really have the volunteer resources to keep up. And so that's an additional $10,000 being proposed for that. An additional $10,000 is being proposed for the study by Ecotech of Putney Pond, and what we want to do there. So that's $20,000. An additional $5,000 for the special project of, as I understand it, doing more graveling on one of the trails in Harrods Creek Park. Is it the Orange Trail? The hill? Yeah. And then the additional 1,000 that is to put into the parks for their discretion as to the $1,000 contribution that was made by Dr. Aaron's. So that's a total of $26,000 that will be proposed to the current year's fiscal year's budget for the parks for those things. And that's the main thing I wanted to communicate. I will not, at this time, I will not go beyond matters of direct interest to the Parks Committee, although there are a number of things that if you want toward the end of the meeting, I'd be glad to get into. So that's Portland at this time. Are you
Anything else,
speechless?
the mayor?
Are you speechless?
Good news.
You see Sarah nodding her head and smiling. Harold just smiling.
I think
There's
it's good
Carolyn.
news.
Look at that big smile. We'll see what happens Monday night, but that's what is being proposed.
And I will say, I plan to be on the call Monday night to report to council and answer any questions. But those of you who are not council members, I encourage you to watch the live stream, which is what I generally do at council meetings. I think that the next thing we might want to do is talk about the Ecotech proposal a little bit. I know that the mayor has shared it with the council members, and I also sent it out to the committee members. I hope you've had a chance to take a look at it. I think I also mentioned when I sent it out that one of the things I did was contact the project director for 21st Century Parks to get a reference on Ecotech. And they were very pleased with the work that they had done. And I think in this, in the proposal that Lee sent, he mentioned that their contract was, $1.7 million with 21st Century Parks. So they did a lot of work, and they got a very good reference for that work. So the fact that they're a local company and that the Parklands of Floyd's Fork was pleased with the work they did there, I think that's pretty high praise. So,
Linda, I do have one more thing to add to all of this. Called CARES Act, and under that law, we have been receiving money directed at COVID relief, and it has been tied to our police salaries that we pay. And our police force costs the city about $900,000 a year, not all of its salaries, but a significant part of it. Anyway, what we have received under this CARES Act over and above our usual revenue at this point, $354,500. Let me say that again, $354,500 more than we usually have in a revenue stream. And I believe Laura told me just yesterday that we got another $102,000. So that would be 354, 456. I mean, after a while, you're talking about real money. So when you start talking about $26,000 being added to the budget for these parks things, that's a tiny piece of this additional revenue.
Well, Linda, if we're going to talk about the Ecotech proposal, I did have some questions about the invasive removal.
Sure.
I was looking at the three different options, and I mean, I think we want to get the most bang for our buck. If we're going to go with Ecotech and contract with them to do some invasive removal. I mean, obviously, the more we can do, the better, because if we're just taking out invasives around the perimeter of the trails, they're gonna sneak back in there eventually. So given our budget and what the council is being requested to approve for invasive removal, obviously option 3, which would be the most extensive, would be out of budget for us. So that would leave option 1 or 2. And I couldn't, from the description here, I couldn't discern the exact differences in the two and which one would be better, to go with. And then there's the question of if we went with option 1, which is 12,300, would we have the additional $2,300 in our budget to add to the 10,000 that we're being, possibly granted from the council for that project?
I think there's two possibilities for that, and my preference would be at least to go with option 1. I'd love to do option 3. I think the chances of getting the council to agree to $45,000 in 1 year is probably out of the question. However, there's a couple of things we can do, and I did talk to Lee, who's the president of Ecotech, and he said we can work with you. So I do think if we get a budget of 10,000, we could ask him, what can you do for $10,000 this year? And it would be somewhere between option 1 and option 2, I think. So the thing that's appealing about option 1 to me is, I don't know if you've got that draft up, but
Yeah.
the areas that's marked in orange, and then some of the pink that's above the blue trail, those are pretty steep areas. They're near the Palisades. And I know that when we've had volunteers working to remove, especially honeysuckle there, it's pretty tough terrain to try to carry loppers or an electric chainsaw plus a backpack sprayer. So I think that would be very advantageous to have their people work on those difficult areas. Then if you look around, there's an area that's in red that goes along the green trail, and that would be the Tree of Heaven area that Ron has started treating what they call the mother trees there, but there's a lot of little shoots. We don't know, they may die off because Ron's treated the mother tree. But thanks, Ron. But it's that is also another area it's quite a ways back in the park. You've got to carry a lot of things back there to treat those areas. So I'd like us to go as much as we can to option 1 as possible. So there's the option of saying to Lee, what can you do for 10,000? Let's add in some of these areas. The other option is I don't think we know right now, but we may have budget left over in maintenance that a couple thousand we might, and maybe Ron can speak to that. And the third option is that we do have in allocated reserves, it's roughly, I always forget, it's roughly $4,000 that is allocated for the parks. And we could ask council for permission to draw on those allocated reserves. Once we spend them, of course, they won't be available for other projects. But I see those as some options that we could work through. And Ron, maybe you can talk about the maintenance budget and if you think there might be funds that we could add to that.
Well, I never want to get in front of Ron, so I'll let him speak first.
There's all kinds of stuff that could be done. The one cut through near the waterfall on the green trail, where it's eroded out. That really needs some work. That's actually getting kind of dangerous right there. So that could be added in. I need to get with John Henry and see if he's still interested in doing a retaining wall there. He had mentioned it once
for those
before.
of you, to explain who John Henry is.
John Henry is one of the, actually he's the original mason who did a lot of the stonework in Prospect, like at Hunting Creek, those walls going into the entrance of Hunting Creek, he did those. I think he did Bruce Point too, with all that stonework there. He's really good and pretty reasonable. He had offered to at one point put a retaining wall in pretty much for cost. So that's something that could be added in there. I get him to just see what he charges to do that.
Yeah, where is that exactly, Ron?
So on the green trail, it's the first string crossing, Linda. It's the first string crossing on the green trail. It's the one that kind of hooks around, and then you cross over. And the one wall, Stewart at one point in time had put some geotech fabric up, and we're going to try to plant it, and that didn't work out, and the geotech's not holding anymore. So
yeah, he had put that landscape fabric down and then kind of built up a trail a little bit. I know my husband helped with that project, and it held for a few years, but some of those really big storms, it just totally washed it away. And I've actually gone and kind of piled up some rocks to try to help that. But Ron's right. If you're walking down the green trail, it's the very first cut, and it is getting kind of dangerous.
On the
Let
opposite.
me try to answer the question as I understood it. Parks maintenance. The document I'm looking at, I think the most recent one I have, it's called the budget workbook. And line 8611 is parks maintenance. And currently what's budgeted in that line is $15,000. That's one of the lines that the proposed night would increase from 15 to 25 for invasive plant removal. But anyway, going back to the currently budgeted 15, this shows that so far in the fiscal year, the city has spent $7,800 of that $15,000, which would leave another $7,100 unspent. So in addition to the proposed increase of 10, there looks to me like there's still, under the current budget, another $7,000 that has not been spent. That helps.
Right.
And that's not discretionary, right? I mean, we can use that as we deem necessary.
Yes. Yeah, that's already been budgeted for the park.
Right.
Yeah, I think we should go for the best we can do on the invasive removal.
I agree with you, Linda. I would go with option 3, 100%. Just do it right and get it done. It's $45,000 this year, but the next 2 years are manageable. Believe it or not, you're going to have Frank Fulcher support on this too. So I see 4 of you on here right now. So if you can convince these 4, then all you're missing is Sandra potentially. I've not talked to her about that. But just get it done and get it done right. We have $356,000 coming in for the CARES. You can argue that the parks are getting overused right now because of COVID. So just take the money out of there and get it done right. We don't have to worry about volunteers or, like Caroline said earlier, if you just remove them 25 feet from the edges, they're going to creep right back in, and we're going to be right back to where we were in 3, 4, 5 years, spending the same money again. If you do option 1 3 times in a row and you're ready there, might as well just do it all right. And you're 100% correct. I've gone with the kids multiple times to remove stuff, and I'm not letting the kids get up those hills. So if you're going to have professionals come in there and do it, whatever they're going to use, those herbicides and everything that nobody wants to touch, that's perfect. Let them do it, get it done right, and we have the money right now.
I think that is a great proposal. And if it has the council's support, it would certainly have my support as a committee member.
If you look at it, if we did go with option 3, you're looking at roughly, it won't be as much in the later years, but it averages out to about 25,000 a year.
It's perfect that we're getting a big hit right now. It's perfect that we're getting a big hit right now while we have the money. Because the other two, at least you can plan 18 and 13. That's not as bad.
Right. Well, I would be delighted. And I'm glad that it appears that there might be, I don't know, council support. I don't know, Sarah and Greg and Don.
Looks like there's plenty of support right here.
Yeah, I'm sure we can't well, I guess it is still an open meeting, but I'm glad to hear that from Harold and that you've talked to Frank, and that, to me, I think if we're going to collect all the tax money and we've received a lot of money that we need to invest in the city. And so that would be something I think would be a nice thing. Like you said, if you have the money now, I don't know if it does us any justice to keep putting things off with a hesitancy to reach back into reserves and then pay for that in future projects. So that would be something that I would certainly be fine with bringing that up on Monday. I'm sure that probably could not get in the list of things before the council because they've already sent it out for the council to look at. So I think it would be a Monday, but I think it does stand that you all could easily be able to say, you just got this proposal, and that was after we received what we thought was going to get put in there. So I don't think it's well, I'm just debating on adding more money. I mean, you received it after that. Those funds were already sort of what we thought would be good. So can you all hear me? Because I'm hearing a lot of feedback with myself. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we make an argument to council I don't know how the budget amendment ordinance works, because as Sarah said, they've already sent it out. So does that mean it would be, can it go to first reading as amending you amend it a first reading on Monday? I don't know how the details work.
You asking me?
Yes, I think so.
I would not like to see the proposed ordinance. I mean, here we are midday Friday, the meeting is Monday night. I'd not like to see us start amending it, because it seems to me that opens a Pandora's box to all sorts of things. If additional money for the parks is something we want to do or the council wants to do, I'd suggest doing that separately. We're only 5.5 months away from a new budget.
Right.
And this money, if it's unspent, isn't going anywhere. And I'd rather address it that way. At this point, I don't want to start opening Pandora's box, amending this and amending that and amending something else. I mean, that's going to make a mess, seems to me.
So, Linda, can you ask Ecotech whether, if we do the 10,000 that you suggest on the hillside up there, or the Palisades, whether when they were through doing that, would that subtract from the 78,000 if we get it your budget?
I think anything they do this year, I believe, and I would have to talk to Lee, but I think if we tell him we've got $10,000, these are the areas we think, with his professional advice, what do what do we spend the extra $2,800 on? And then how do we adjust the next year? The next year, can we do, quote, year one work on what we didn't get done this fiscal year? And then come up with a revised, schedule in the outlying years.
Well, actually, as I said a minute or two ago, at this moment, right, as we sit here, there's $7,000 currently in the budget. And if
Right.
this proposal were to pass Monday night, that would be a total of $17,000
true.
between now and the end of June. For parks
That's true.
maintenance.
Do you have
So
to spend the $7,800 this year?
You've spent 78 out of the 15 for rehab, out of the currently budgeted 15. So what else?
Does anyone have anything else to say?
Linda, Monday night,
Ooh,
I would just present it as you want to go with option 3 and you need $45,000. That's it. Just go all out.
say that that's the recommendation of the Parks Committee.
I don't see how you can commit to a $45,000 expenditure in the current year unless another budget amendment is made. I mean, I can't sign off on it because it isn't authorized at this point. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not in favor of it, Harold. I'm just saying as a practical matter, it's going to take more action by the council past this Monday night, which is fine. If the council wants to do it, I mean, I'm not saying anything against that.
Yeah, it just, boy, I'm getting a lot back.
If you're not talking, just mute your mic.
It's always good advice. I'm not broadcasting from home today. I'm broadcasting from my office at City Hall. But when I am broadcasting from home, occasionally I get a little carried away and maybe tell a joke or something like that. And boy, do I get a lot of comments from my wife.
Carolyn, you're muted.
Oh, okay. You hear me now? Okay, I was just gonna follow up on what Harold was saying. Gosh, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Can you all hear me okay? I was gonna follow up on what Harold was saying and just express the thought that if there's any way we can get that 45,000 through while it has the council's support now, that would be great. But if there's a logistical way to do it that would not upset the mayor, that would be a workaround with the current budget proposal. All options should be explored is all I would suggest.
Okay, I can certainly in my report.
Mayor's talking, he's on mute.
What?
Still on mute.
Boss, you're on mute. There you go.
You're still on mute. The space bar will get you back and forth.
Okay, now how about now? Here comes Ron.
You should be good.
It should be good, he says.
Can you all hear him?
Carolyn, all I'm saying is that to start messing around with the currently proposed budget amendment at this moment in time, I think is going to create a mess Monday night. Because I'm aware that there will be other members of the council that are going to be opposed to this, going to be in favor of that, want to change this. I just think it'll make a mess. I'm not talking about down the road. I'm just talking about Monday night.
When could Echo Tech even start?
They said that oh gosh, they said they could start within 10 days of notice.
Say that again, Linda.
10 days within a signed contract.
Okay?
Linda, I think it might be your microphone. Wow. Maybe not.
It's the mayor's. Sorry.
Not my fault. It's Ron's fault.
On that note, I'm going to mute you.
So I did have a question. Unfortunately, you'll have to unmute him again. This is just in general. So I just want to clarify that you're saying you have a preference to not mess with anything. I hear that. Are we saying that no one on Monday night, are we not allowed to go, fine, you want that? Sure. Because I want this. Are we saying there's no changes? That's just a clarification on my part, mainly for expectation, but.
I'll jump in on that, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks.
And I think really we've got some really important things that we have to do on Monday night because of timing. So yeah, you can do anything you want, but I think if we do, we open the Pandora's box to the possibility of defeating the main thing that we really must accomplish on Monday night. So I don't think any of us are saying that we don't like to do what the study is proposing, the Ecotech offer, but perhaps February would be the best time to approach that. That's my thinking.
Let me mention one other possibility, and that would be for me to talk again to Lee and say we're trying to get approval for some of the money. We really want to do option 3. That might need to wait until the next fiscal year to do the second half of it. I know that this is a year we've got the CARES money coming in, and I understand that. But I could at least find, another possibility. Or as I think Greg said, we could come back in February and say, okay, we've got approval for this amount. We want to do a budget amendment to allow the rest of the project to be done.
Sarah, I want to answer your question, and I've been trying to answer your question, but my computer keeps shooting me out. The council can do anything the council wants to do. I don't run that part of the government here. That's you guys. So I'm just telling you what I think. Okay. And Greg talked about an item in the proposed budget amendment that I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he said something like it's the one thing we absolutely have to see get done. And that's a perfect segue into another thing that I wanted to bring up. And I'm going to ask Greg and Sarah to talk about the US 42 project and the budget amendment for that and what it's for and all of that. Greg, would you lead the way?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Let me start from 30,000 feet up and just say that one of the key components of the amendment on Monday night is to fund a study that is part of a grant from KIPTA. I think everybody knows what KIPTA is. I got to think about the acronym myself. Kentucky Indiana Planning and Development Agency works very closely with KYTC, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. There was a time when I didn't know all these acronyms, believe me. But anyway, through this study, those of us that are on the working group, and I think many on the council, feel that we can create a wonderful vision for our fine city and set a precedent towards many, many years to come in establishing not just safety, which is a key component. And by the way, I want to thank Harold for getting us on that path. It was Harold who, in January of last year, had the working group focus on safety and not just on lighting, which was what it was focused on prior to that. So we're not leaving lighting behind. It's still a key component, but the safety aspect is certainly a much broader aspect. So we are doing that. So that is the main thing that's on the agenda as far as something that we have to get done because of the timing. We have to, and I don't know when it will come, but any day now, there will be a contract sent to the mayor to sign, accepting the study and accepting that we would be responsible for our 20% portion of that study. So,
Can I jump in?
Yeah,
Can I add a few things?
please.
This grant that we have received, it's a done thing. It just hadn't been put to paper. This grant is nominally for $375,000 for this engineering study of what we could do or what could be done to make US 42 safer. Of that 375, our share is 20%, and KIPTA pays 80%. So they pay 300,000, and our share of this nominal amount is 75,000. However, we recently found out that the state picks up 10% of our share. So that is down again nominally to 67,500. As Greg was saying, I will receive a letter from KIPTA to sign that would commit the city of Prospect to its share. And since they have put this nominal amount on there, that's how much I have to commit the city of Prospect to pay. I can't do that unless it's been authorized by the council. Council doesn't authorize it, we can forget about it. So that's why we're asking the council to approve this amount of money, $67.5 for our share of the grant. I just wanted to lay that out, Greg, and I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's perfect. Another point that I would like to make is that there's a working group and there's a lot of people, Don Gibson, Sarah, a whole lot of people, Doug, on the council, and many other citizens who have been working really, really hard since October a year ago. And what we have found out, and we've talked to, good gosh, we've talked to the people in J-Town, we've talked to the mayor there and the city manager there, we've talked to Simpsonville, we've talked to Middletown, we've talked to the county judge Vogel in Oldham County, we've talked to Senator Harris and Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, on and on and on. The amount of research and effort that has gone into this is just, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of this group of people that's worked so hard. But what we found out is that matter of fact, I want to say this, when we went to KIPTA the very first time, they said to us, we were wondering where Prospect has been. And what has kind of hit us in the face as an aha moment was J-Town, all of the lighting that they've added and all of the special things that they've done with sidewalks and the special walkways in Middletown, all of that has been done working through KIPTA. We're just kind of late getting into the game. So they have done all of these things for their fine cities at 20 cents on the dollar. So it's not just getting a discount on the things, it is establishing a relationship with an organization, i.e. the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, that will really help us and to help them to guide the future of what we want the vision to be for Prospect. And so we all love our city, but there is so much that we can do, and we can play an active role in working with them instead of just someday, not that they would, but it's possible, KYTC coming to us and say, oh, by the way, we're going to do such and such in the city of Prospect, and us not having a previous say in that kind of decision. So wanted to get that point out too.
Yeah, this doesn't, I suppose, not technically a Parks Committee issue, but it is part of improving our city, and it seemed appropriate to me to tell the committee all about it.
So,
And also because of the upcoming vote on the proposed budget amendment, to explain why Greg is saying that this part is very time sensitive. Because I do expect that I will be asked to sign that commitment letter this month. And I can't do it unless the council has approved it.
so I appreciate all of this background information, and given those explanations, then I would certainly defer to the mayor's judgment about not requesting the 45,000 be an amendment in the Monday night meeting. So then I have a couple of other follow-up questions. One for the mayor. Mayor Evans, you said that it could be brought up in February. How would that work? What would be the logistics of bringing it up at that time?
Well, members of the council can bring up anything they want at any meeting, or even at special meetings. My way of thinking about this, and I don't know if this meshes sufficiently with Harold's views, which I agree with, in another couple months, say March, we will be working on the proposed budget for the coming fiscal year, which starts June the 30th. And, we can get started with Ecotech and expand it if the council wants to do that. And that's the kind of timing that I would see. This budget's already been, it wasn't passed until September, mid-September. And then it was amended once already. And now we're looking at another amendment to it. And if what you're thinking is in another month, we do another amendment to it, it seems to me like that's a bit much. And I would suggest that whatever further this committee or any members want to do, that it go into the work on the budget that we propose, and it'll be proposed by the beginning of May for the coming fiscal year that starts on the 1st of July. That's the way I would look at it, rather than amending. You get worn out with amending.
The other thing that occurs to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we wanted to award Ecotech a contract totaling $45,000 this year, it would have to go out to bid, wouldn't it? As being over 20,000?
That raises a question I'd like Chris Gorman's advice on, because you don't have to bid out professional contracts.
Oh.
And I don't know whether they fall into that category or not. And I'd need to find that out, Linda.
And that would be important if we get started with them this year and want to do more next year. It would be important to have that information. So that's
Yeah.
the
I think that should be the ultimate goal, to do the whole project. However, we can do it logistically. I also think, from having served on a lot of committees and commissions and boards, it's important to have your votes lined up, to have a good sense that you actually have the votes to get it through before you make the proposal. So I think working behind the scenes, in the months ahead would be a good thing to help educate the council members on the scope of the project, the need for it, and then to maybe have some one-on-one conversations with some of the council members to get their feedback on whether they would support that or not. So that's my 2 cents worth.
it
That was
sounds
so
like
insightful, it makes me wonder if you're running for mayor.
No.
well, let's proceed with that thought. I definitely, when I speak, I think I will have some time for a parks report on Monday, and I will definitely mention that, our ultimate goal is to get it all done, and we just have to figure out when and how that happens. I would also like some comments about the $10,000 for the Putney Pond study, and if anyone had any comments about that part of the proposal.
I have a question.
Okay,
Linda, do we know fairly certainly that that study of Putney Pond is going to cost all of 10,000?
that is their estimate, so I don't,
Okay.
I can't answer that.
All right.
The one thing that, this is a study. I think it's important for us to get the information that I'm expecting to get from this study in terms of what they think the future is, how quickly it's going to silt, what possible things can be done. It's information we don't have now. Now, it may be that we spend 10,000 on this study and we decide to do anything is going to be too expensive. But I think we need that information to make future plans, even if it's just cleaning up the edges, creating a channel. I don't know. But right now, we don't have any information to make any good decisions.
That's why it's called a study.
Right.
I agree with Linda. I think that our committee would be committing malpractice if we don't do that study, as important as Putney Pond is to the recreational facilities for Prospect. I think we need to have that study. And if it comes out and says it's too expensive, then, which we anticipate, so be it, but at least we've done our homework and have that to the public at large for them to, and council, make decisions.
Any
Agreed.
other comments?
Agreed.
Okay. So I'm just pleased that the budget amendment has those funds in that amendment. So, any other comments generally about the parks? I think that Ron and I need to maybe talk about the stream crossing on the Green Trail. I will follow up with, I'll talk to Lee at Ecotech and just kind of talk through some potential options there. And I'm happy to talk to anyone later, and we're getting close to the end of our meeting here. But anyone that wants to talk to me further about this or other parks items.
Linda, have you gotten any report back on the Harrods Creek Trail Bash, virtual Trail Bash?
Nothing, and I need to follow up. I'll follow up with, now I can't remember his name, but.
Zach.
Well, Zach's not actively involved in the Trail Bash this year, he told me. It was his partner, and I've got his contact information. But
Yeah,
I'll follow up.
I participated as a virtual hiker, and I signed up on their website and did the 5K. And I had on the website, you can check whether you want a t-shirt or not. And I checked no, because I didn't want them to have to send me one. But I did get in the mail gift, their memento of the event. And I wanted to hold it up, and I'm not sure you can see it or not. Can you see this?
Oh, nice.
It's a lanyard, and the metal part has sculpted trees and a little deer, and the words, it says Harrods Creek virtual 5K, 10K Trail Bash. And then the ribbon is muted trees in green. It's a satin ribbon, and it says Harrods Creek. So I thought that was pretty cool. Not that I have anything to do with it. I won't be, wearing it around anywhere, but I thought it was kind of clever.
Well, can you explain to me what that event is or was?
I was going to say, Doug, that's my kind of run, is a virtual run.
Yeah, but I just am interested in understanding how it works. Do you actually walk, or what does it entail?
In the past, before COVID hit us, we had, for the last couple of Novembers, 2 or 3 Novembers, we had a trail bash where participants could run 5K or 10K, and they paid an entrance fee. Zach Bevan was the person that kind of got the ball rolling. He's a Prospect, grew up in Prospect and helped build the trails in Harrods Creek Park. And he had this idea to have a trail bash where the proceeds would benefit the parks. So for the last few years, they have donated between $1,200 and $1,300 to the parks as a result of their trail bash. This year, they wanted to try to figure out a safe way to do it, and the city declined. We just felt it was not a good idea to have a bunch of people congregating in the park. So they came up with the idea of doing a virtual run, and you just self-reported the run that you made. And I'm delighted that they came through and gave you a gift for completion. And
I did it as a hike, and they had that option on their website. You could walk or run or hike. And I don't know that that's normally an option they give, because a lot of us are usually volunteers for the event. So I've never participated as a walker or runner, but this year I just wanted to support the event. And you sign up, you pay a little registration to do that, just in support of the parks and in support of the event. So I'm wondering how many people actually did it, and whether we'll get any proceeds from it or not this year. So it'd be good to know.
Yeah, thanks for explaining it. That sounds wonderful, and I'll look forward to the next opportunity to participate. I think it'd be something fun to do with my grandchildren.
I will get back. I remember the person's first name is David, and I still can't come up with his last name, but I will follow up with him and report next month. Quickly, Lynn, do you have any Scout updates?
Then it's our quiet time of year. So right now, I'll hopefully have some information in February or March, but right now we're quiet.
Okay. So let's talk about next meeting. I've got my handy City of Prospect calendar here.
Hey, Linda, can I mention two things before you?
Oh,
Sorry,
absolutely.
I didn't realize you were done. No, that's fine. Sorry about that. I was going to say for Ecotech, when next time you talk to them, I know you had mentioned, I see there are three, like the big proposals they have on there about kind of stream channel management. I know you had originally talked about they might be able to give us an idea of if we didn't do anything, a better way to potentially use the park, or hey, if you remove this, maybe it elongates the time it turns into that. Is that something that you think will still be included in this 10,000?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think they're going to provide a variety of options, and hopefully with cost estimates, they'll do nothing,
Yeah.
create a path around the perimeter of the wetland, build a boardwalk. I
That
am
might-
expecting. Oh, oops.
Thanks, Ron. That might be something worth mentioning because it's not kind of explicitly stated in here. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is I'm a member of Rotary, and they have funds that can go up to like $200,000. It depends whether it's local, district, whatever. They have environmental ones. This is brand new. Clean water, water restoration, invasive plants, plant management, habitat restoration, etc. So I have a ton of info, and I know we're short, so I can maybe chat with you on the side, but there's potential that there would be money to pair with Rotary to go into initiatives that you wanted to do at Putney Pond. To the budget piece, I would say for if you're not going to ask for all the money, which is totally fine, I'll leave that. I won't mention anything. I'll just go with whatever you've got for your recommendation is fine. But for next year, I know we chatted about creating basically a full park long-term plan. I know that's not something to cover today, but I would totally advocate for, with all of these reserve money, all this capital money that's just going to go and sit on top of extra money, and I can talk about that at some other time, that there be a full, I want to do all this to the parks, even in the lifetime of the parks, and then really start to divvy out chunks, big projects that are meaningful in a scope of the full park system. That's just my recommendation. But I'll catch back with you on the grant. There's a whole application window, et cetera. And Ecotech could probably help with that.
Absolutely. That sounds terrific. Because
I have one thing. I'm sorry. I have one thing too. I'll be brief. In 3 years, the city of Prospect will be 50 years old. And so to that end, perhaps, and you all do a wonderful job, but perhaps the group could think about where does it see itself then, or what could we do then? Maybe some sort of special event or a number of events that we could hold during that year, 2024, or just more from a broader perspective, what can we do with the parks in 5 years? Where do we see ourselves in 5 years? So that might stimulate some thought on an annual basis as well. So I just wanted to throw that out to think long term.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments before we talk about next meeting? Okay. The next meeting of the council, the February meeting, will be on the 15th, according to my Prospect calendar.
I think it's on the 16th.
Well, the calendar says it's on the 15th, but that is President's Day, so I don't know. Ron, or Mayor, do you know?
Greg sent me the list, and I transferred it to my calendar, and I had it on the 15th, and I erased that and moved it to the 16th. So I'm thinking that was on the information, Greg, that you sent to me.
Now, whatever was on that list, the council approved it, and I don't have it in front of me right now. I'm sorry.
Give me a second. I'll check with Laura.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like this committee to meet
16th.
the week. Okay, it's the 16th. Okay. I'd like this committee to meet the week before, if possible.
I checked with Laura. It is on the Tuesday instead of the Monday. So the council meeting is actually on the 16th.
Okay. So looking at the week of February 8th, I don't know if there are days and times that are better than others.
I am open all that week.
Can we do the 10th?
The 10th? And our morning or afternoons better?
My schedule is completely flexible, so whatever you come up with is going to work for me.
Ron, what would be most convenient for you?
If we do mornings, closer to 10 would be better, because that way we don't work into lunchtime and all that. You don't want me angry. I'm open all that week though, so
Okay.
anytime's good with me.
So 10 o'clock or 2 in the afternoon, which would be best? Anyone? Well,
2 in the
let's say,
afternoon.
I'm sorry,
I said 2 in the afternoon.
is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, let's go with 2 p.m.
And that was on the
The
10th.
10th of February.
I gotta go anyway, guys. Have a great day. See ya.
Thank you.
See you, Harold.
Okay. I think we can adjourn if there's nothing else.
We
Thank
are scheduled, so.
Great.
Happy New
Thank you
Year.
all. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Linda. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Linda. It was a good meeting. Thank
Take
you.
care, folks.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.